In the film Hoodwinked, made in 2005 by Corey and Todd Edwards, it explores a reimagined world space, taking the classic folktale Little Red Riding Hood into the modern world. Using the original text with different setting, characterization, and themes, it brings new perspective to the text and eventually modifies the original's purpose. So here's a basic summary of the story. Furry and feathered cops from the animal world investigate a domestic disturbance at Granny's cottage involving a girl, a wolf, and a woodsman. Not to mention, this case might be tied to the elusive Goody Bandit who's been stealing the recipes of goodie shops everywhere. Despite the many differences, this film presents itself as compact. At the beginning of the film, the narrator says if you want to learn the truth, you gotta flip through the pages. This shows that the film is a continuation of the original story, which is important because it adds a completely different aspect to the ending than initially anticipated. At first glance, the story of Little Red Riding Hood seems like another fairy tale. To any intellectual, the role of the wolf is a rapist. In the short story, the wolf tells Little Red to come get into bed with me. Her, being a gullible child, takes off her clothes and does exactly that. The unholy event continues after. That is why the story is so short. So you might be wondering why I'm talking about Perot, and that is because Hoodwinked is completely free of any form of molestation in comparison to Perot. It is entirely portrayed as a comedy or parody. This takes out the suspicion of the wolf raping Red that is included in many other versions. The effect of this is that it alternates the initial purpose behind the whole fairy tale. But the movie still contains elements that still capture the fairy tale image. In the book The Postmodern Fairy Tale, made by Kevin Smith, he talks about 8 elements of intertextual use of fairy tales, and Hoodwink consists of many. It uses the element incorporation by following the structure of Little Red Riding Hood meeting the wolf on the way to Granny's house, and later encountering him impersonating Granny in her bed. This basically means that the movie follows a strict key structure from the original. Another element is called intertextual, which means in relation to setting or environment. The film takes place in a forest with talking and singing animals and magical happenings. Another element is revision because it paints a different narrative based on the initial one. However, fabulation is somewhat similar in this scenario because the film has its own unique story. Hoodwinked is directed as a detective mystery style film similar to the TV show Law & Order. Towards the beginning, we are greeted with the police detectives who are trying to investigate the disturbance at Granny's house. Detective Flipper comes in and he essentially leads the case. One by one, each character is called into the interrogation room and questioned about their side of the story. The importance of this is that it emphasizes on the modern aspect of the time period, making it more politically correct and less of a fairy tale. In the end, we find that none of the suspects were the Goody Bandit and that it was actually the bunny the whole time. However, the structure of the movie led the majority of the audience to believe that all fingers point to one of the suspects at some point in the movie. For example, I'm going to show you a clip straight from Hoodwinked. This scene is when Red meets Wolf for the first time.
Afternoon.
Hello.
So, you're the little girl in the red hood. That was quite a bit of following you did just now.
Oh, you saw that.
Yeah, gravity's working. Those old cable cars on there. She read a letter. Wow, something smells good. Those, goodies in there?
I'm not supposed to talk to strangers.
No, you shouldn't. Good call. What are you doing way out here in the big bad forest? You taking the goodies to someone in particular?
My granny.
Granny Puckett, the goodie lady? You make deliveries to your granny often?
I don't think I should tell you that.
Oh, you don't have anything else in that basket?
You ask a lot of questions, mister.
Now this is Red's version, and you can clearly tell that Wolf seems like he was trying to get Red's basket. This generates a theme of appearance versus reality because what is actually happening is that Wolf is a reporter and he wants to catch a bandit himself, which he suspects is Granny and Red, hence the little interrogation.
Well, I'm a curious guy. Let me have a look.
I'd rather you didn't.
Hand over the basket.
This is an important moment which you will find out why later on in Wolf's version.
Red! You can't hold on to those
In Wolf's version, you see the complete opposite of what is going on, which is that Red is hiding something and Wolf is simply trying to catch his suspect.
Afternoon.
You ask a lot of questions, mister.
Well, I'm a curious guy.
I'd rather you didn't.
I mean, please, come back
Here
here.
you can see that Wolf is actually a pretty decent person and he's only trying to do his job. He's not at all the big scary wolf that he's portrayed to be.
Suspect is approaching on foot, stolen recipes, and basket. I'm about to catch her red-handed. Hand over the basket.
Remember when I told you to remember the scene? The significance of this scene is that it shows that Red isn't the innocent little girl that she is supposed to be. Typically, little girls would not fight back and win, and that females are essentially helpless. This intensifies the theme of appearance versus reality even more because nobody is who they appear to be in this movie. At the end of the film, Boinga admits he is the criminal, the goody bandit, and bears all the traits of coercive or corrupt business owners, or the man as often referred to. This transition is illustrated by the setting of the film shifting from a balanced relationship between nature and technology to a dangerous, unattractive layer of steel and technology. This further develops the theme of businessmen because in society they contain so much recognition and worship when the reality is that they extort and sin. This brings forward a message against business corruption and opens the eyes of the audience. So one thing that I noticed was that Granny has a tattoo that consists of 3 G's. This is strange because normally grandmas tend to be sweet old women who like knit on their free time. Instead, this Granny likes to play extreme sports and is referred to as Triple G. I believe that her nickname is to highlight how much of a badass she is because Triple G in the real world is a nickname for a professional boxer who has won 40 out of 42 fights in the early 2000s.
I really directed this thing looking at it as an action comedy first and an animated film second. I know kids will love it because it has animated animals, but we've written it to have a wider appeal. We've written this to be as funny as it can possibly be for even people our age. At the onset, it may look like just a children's film, but like many of the Pixar's films or the best of the Disney films, it spreads all the way up to an older age bracket.
All in all, this movie is actually pretty great. It has multiple hidden messages and themes that are extremely important for citizens to catch their eye on, and overall, I actually really liked it because it was a huge throwback for me.